Hello Internet people, and welcome back to another edition of #FridaySews. Happy Friday, and I know you have all been waiting for an update on my new sewing machine, the Juki HZL-F300 that I unboxed in last week's Friday Sews. Now, congratulations to the 3 people who guessed correctly. You guys all get a gold star. Mary and Carol got it correct, and Diane got the brand correct. So gold star from me to you. Here you go. So for the first project on the new sewing machine, I'm working on the Friday Pattern Company Ilford jacket. I'm almost finished with it. As you can see here, the machine does sew. It takes thread and fabric and melds them together into something that looks like clothes. So that's always a plus in a sewing machine. So how are things going with the machine? They're going great, with some asterisks though. Some footnotes on that. As you know, I come from very old machines, all mechanical, and so the computerized aspect of the fancy bells and whistles is truly miraculous. Automatic thread cutter, automatic lock stitch, threading the needle is like so easy. I don't think that's not computerized, but that's like a cool feature too. Wow, yeah, it's amazing. Also, it feeds so evenly. I'm used to kind of wrangling my fabric to keep it at like a 5/8 seam allowance and kind of having to like touch it a lot and like really maneuver it through the machine. But with this machine, you just kind of barely hold it and it just goes forward in the machine and stays so straight. So that's like really cool too. The asterisks on it though include the fact that I actually have to get a replacement machine. I am destined in my life to have tension issues, and as you saw last week when I first sewed the first stitches, the tension wasn't quite right, and I consulted the sewing powers that be, who also confirmed that it's not just in my head, because at this point I'm starting to think that I don't even know what tension is supposed to look like. No, they confirmed something's not quite right about it, and I'm getting a replacement. So that's okay. Small setback, but nothing too crazy. Hopefully the new machine works, like knock on wood. Also, I'm getting used to a few other aspects of it, like the throat plate. Usually, you know, there's markings for your seam allowances on it. These are all in metric. The lines, the guidelines are in metric. The imperial measurements are at the very back of the throat plate, and so they are there, but there's no the full lines on the throat plate are in metric. It's kind of hard to see the 5/8 line, and so I think I'm going to have to go through and mark it in some way, which I've done on my machines before. I kind of feel like on a $600 machine you shouldn't have to, but you know, whatever. That's kind of something I'm getting used to, just knowing where on my machine to look for, like even like top stitching or edge stitching. On my other machines I just have like some line or little point that I'll like look at to help guide me, and so I'm just getting used to the different presser feet and the different throat plate and just knowing where to look for what kind of different measurements on my machine. The other thing is I feel like the needle bar is really far back, and I think I'm not used to having so much like space. What is that called? I don't know what it's called. Space on the machine. I'm used to much more like narrow machines, and so the needle bar is like very close to the edge, and so I'm just kind of getting used to like not like crouching down to look, and I have to like adjust my chair or something. I don't know. I think it's a personal problem. I just have to get used to it. So just getting used to those couple things. So I decided, even though I'm getting a replacement machine, I was going to go ahead and use this one while I still have it to work on this Friday Pattern Company Ilford jacket and just see how it sews. Now this is a wearable muslin, so I wasn't too concerned about the fact that all the tension and everything is a little bit wonky on it. And I'm almost finished. And let me just show you the absolute best feature of this new machine, and that is the buttonholes. The buttonholes on this machine are absolutely amazing. I literally spent like 5 minutes making these, and I think they look pretty good. They're not perfect, but I think they're pretty decent for literally 5 minutes worth of effort. You literally just put the button into the presser foot and it senses what size you should make, what size it should make the buttonholes, and then you just press the go button and it goes, and it makes these beautiful buttonholes. So I'm into that. Let me actually show you this on, and we can talk a little bit more about this pattern. start at the beginning with this pattern. So I decided to make a wearable muslin. I decided to make a version out of this very lightweight quilting cotton because the real version is supposed to be a very expensive Pendleton wool. So I wanted to make a practice version first. I had the pattern printed back in December by PDF Plotting. And so I had the pattern all printed out, and then in March, didn't get to it. Then in March, Friday Pattern Company sent out an email with an updated pattern and an updated instruction. And since I had already had it printed out, I wasn't gonna go get it printed again. So I decided just to make the old version. And when I went to open up the instructions, I opened up the new instructions and I was using the old pattern. So there was definitely some confusion when I was looking at the new instructions and trying to use the old pattern. There's some extra markings that the old pattern doesn't have. That took me a little bit of time to figure out. But once I figured out that I was using the new instructions with the old pattern, I went and dug out the old instructions, which I had actually downloaded. So I dug out the old instructions and then everything made a lot more sense. Also, I used way too heavy of interfacing. I used shirting weight interfacing, but it's really, really thick, and this fabric is actually not that thick, and so really stiff. The plackets, the cuffs, and the collar are very, very stiff, but it's a practice piece, so that is okay. I found a few of the instructions to be a little bit confusing, and you know, I was looking online to see if anyone else had anything to say about the instructions, but nobody else really said anything about it, and so maybe it was just me. So I still need to finish the cuffs and attach the buttons, and then I think it's pretty much finished, and I think it's kind of a nice, it's like a shacket. That's what the kids are calling it. It's a shirt jacket sort of thing. Because it's this lightweight quilting cotton, it's really lightweight. So yeah, it's kind of almost more like a shirt. I really like the print though, and I like the colors, so yeah. That's that. After making this wearable muslin, I'm not entirely sure that I want to use my expensive wool for this pattern. But this isn't something this was a project that I had decided to do like back in fall and winter, and I'm obviously just now getting to the muslin. So we're gonna kind of shelve it because obviously I'm not gonna make a wool jacket at this point in the year. Actually, I think I want to make maybe another practice one with the new instructions and see how that changes things. Hey internet people, it's Future Katie here. While I was editing this video, I decided to go and do some digging into the differences between the old Ilford jacket and the new and improved Ilford jacket. And it looks like there are some pretty significant differences with the sleeve and body construction, and also I believe the front placket as well. And I think that it seems like she updated the pattern to help with some of the bunching in the sleeves. So I'm definitely going to have to make the new version before I continue on with this pattern in any sort of expensive fancy fabric. And so that means unfortunately I'm going to have to get it reprinted. So we're definitely going to be revisiting this pattern because I do really like the style of it, and I would like to make a nice jacket like this if the improved version improves upon some of the problems that were part of the old version. So I think in one of my very first Friday Sews, I talked about learning to knit. And so I wanted to update you on my knitting journey. And here it is. Since my very first Friday Sews, I think it was the first one. Maybe that was that in March. This is where I've gotten. I decided that it looks like a little mini scarf, and so I decided to make my cat a scarf for his birthday. His birthday's at the end of May, and so I thought I'd just make him a little scarf because that's exactly what he needs at this point in his life. I am learning to do continental because I'm left-handed, and I read that continental was easier for left-handed people. So that's what I'm doing, and I realized halfway through that I was actually doing it wrong, and so yeah, it's pretty wonky looking, and I think that's like the general idea. I think that looks like it's kind of what it's supposed to look like. I mean, obviously it's just a knit stitch, and like I said, there's definitely some mistakes. And also I got this yarn at Target, and it is so terrible. It's just cheap acrylic yarn. This was like $3.99, but it splits so bad. I mean, I don't really care because obviously I'm just practicing, but oh, do not buy it. It splits so bad. Look, you can see right there. It's like splitting. Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna make a cat scarf. I also find that I want to hold my yarn like a crocheter, but I think that's like not wrong. I also feel like I have to really hold everything, but I think with practice, I want to make sure I get really good technique, because I feel like with this kind of thing, if you start learning with bad technique, it gets like ingrained in your muscle memory and then you'll never unlearn it. So look at that, you guys, I'm knitting. Look, I'm knitting. This is so exciting. So how long do you think before I can make a sweater for myself? Yeah, you think by the next Friday Sews? Just kidding. Look at that, I did a whole row, just sitting here. I'm so proud of myself, look at that. Anyways, so that's the update on my knitting journey. In other news this weekend, I don't know if I'm gonna get a whole lot done. I'm meeting up with my sisters who live a couple hours away, and one of them is actually moving back home with my parents in another state. And so we're meeting up and we're gonna go hike around and explore the forest, hang out in the forest together. And so that'll be fun. So I don't think I'm gonna get a ton of sewing done. Yeah, whenever the last time I talked about what my sewing plans are, I'm like still on those. I think it was the Pattern Scout Comfy Tee, which I traced off the pattern yesterday, the Wilder gown, and McCall's, I don't remember the name. Actually, I have it right here, hold on. Oh yeah, this McCall 7974. So yeah, I'm still like working on those. Getting a new machine obviously kind of interrupted the sewing flow process. So I think that's all I really have for you today. I hope you have a very good weekend. I hope you have a lot of fun sewing plans coming up. And thank you so much for watching, and take care.